investors, and corporates. Welcome to Set Digital Roadshow Year-End 2022 Performance Review. This session will run about 45 minutes. The company will start the session with a 30-minute presentation followed by a 15-minute Q&A session. During the Q&A, investor may leave your questions in the meeting room chat box or use raise your hand function. We will open your microphone so you can ask the question directly. May I now invite PTG Energy Public Company Limited to start the presentation.
Thank you and good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Set Digital Roadshow for PTG Energy Public Company Limited for the performance review of fourth quarter and fiscal year of 2022. Before we dive into the presentations, I'd like to introduce our speakers today. First, Kun Parameet Sangwon-Chok-Wanit, Vice President and Head of Investor Relations.
สวัสดีครับ Hi, good afternoon.
And I'm Nopasan Wang, Investor Relations. So let's move on in our agendas today. I will run you through on the key highlights, followed by industry overview and business overview. And then Kun Parameet will run you through on the financial performance and ESG development. Let's move into the key highlights on 2022. Starting with the first one, the company has received the newest high records of oil sales volume in 2022 of 5,316 million liters, an increase of 5.9% year over year. And the second one is the company has launched the PT Max Park Salaya, which is the first flagship which features a petrol station with a modern design and digital fuel dispensers. And inside the petrol stations also had a modern design, and also inside we have the non-oil products, including the Pantai Coffee, the Coffee World, the Max Mart, the Auto Bags, Next Pharma, and Up and Co-working Space, etc. Additionally, the company also provides the PT Service Master, who will facilitate the best-in-class services inside the service stations. And also, the third one, the company has already installed up to 35 EV charging stations. And since we have collaborated with EGAT since 2021, and in this year, we also are targeting additional 30 charging stations in this year. The fourth one, the company has celebrated the 10th year anniversary of Pantai Coffee, and in Pantai business also unveiled the 4 strategic initiatives for the future growth. The first one is targeting and expand the franchise model, both inside and outside services stations. And the second one is developing the new beverages by sourcing the finest local ingredients from local farmers nationwide. The third one also emphasizing more on the delivery platform and also creating the brand awareness, visibility, brand accessibility to the customers, and using the fourth one is utilizing the data from our PT Max card users in order to analyzing the consumer behavior and to increase the product sales and frequencies. And the fifth one is the company has launched the MaxMe application since third quarter of 2022. This application was meant to create for serving our PT Max card member, which already surpassed 19 million members in our systems. And we also, inside this application was also have the e-wallet function, whereby the consumers can utilizing the financial data, can conduct a financial transaction inside the applications, and also they can order the Pantai Coffee, the pay e-bills, or even request the Max service for emergency assistance. And the last one, in terms of our ESG development, we have recently signed the waste to energy power plants with the Banpru municipality back in third quarter of 2022. we target the kickoff in construction in third quarter of this year and targeting COD in the next 2 years, which around in 2025. Moving to industry overview. In our Thailand's oil consumption in fourth quarter of 2022 stood at 8,911 million liters, an increase of 5.5% Q-over-Q and 2.5% year-over-year. The increase was mainly derived from the substitution of high-priced natural gas with diesel fuel in electricity generations. And in terms of the whole year, the oil channel consumption stood at 35,226 million liters, an increase of 8.3% year-over-year. This mainly derived from the recovery of the easing of the COVID-19 restriction, which resulting in the economy recovery. On the right-hand side, the retail consumption of fourth quarter also rose by 8.5% Q-over-Q and 7.6% year-over-year to 7,352 million liters. The increase was mainly driven by the diesel fuel consumption after the cultivation activities post-monsoon season. And in terms of the whole year, the retail consumption stood at 28,187 million liters, an increase of 11.1% year-over-year. This is as a result of the aforesaid of the relaxation of the COVID-19 restrictions. Moving to LPG consumption in fourth quarter of 2022 stood at 1,649 million liters, an increase of 1.6% Q-over-Q and 2.3% year-over-year. The increase was mainly driven in terms of compared to previous quarter was mainly driven by the household LPG, which increased 3% Q-on-Q to 974 million liters. And in terms of year-over-year increase was majority attributable to the increase in auto LPG of 8.9% year-over-year to 355 million liters. In terms of the whole year, the LPG consumption increased 4.5% year-over-year to 6,459 million liters. The increase was mainly from the auto LPG of 16.6% year-over-year to 1,368 million liters. With the increase in auto LPG, you can see that in the center of the presentations, the pie chart also increased from the contribution of 19% to 21% in the fiscal year of 2022. However, our household LPG also still contributed the largest proportion of 59%. Moving to our business overview, starting with our oil business. The number of oil stations, we have already surpassed 2,000 stations in the end of December 2022, which stood at 2,149 stations, which divided into oil cocoa of 1,809 stations and oil dodo of 340 stations. In terms of the regional distribution of oil stations, you can see that Northeast, North, and East contributed the top three major contribution of 27%, 22%, and 12% respectively. And in terms of the oil sales volume, in fourth quarter stood at 1,407 million liters, which is the newest high record since second quarter of 2022, which increased by 10.1% Q-on-Q and 9.4% year-on-year. The increase compared to the previous quarter was derived from the same-store sales growth of 8.2% Q-on-Q and 0.8% Q-on-Q growth from the oil station expansions. The increase compared to the previous quarter also derived from the aforesaid of the recovery consumption after the monsoon season. And as you can see that in terms of the product contribution, the majority still derived from diesel products, which contributed around 73% of total oil sales volume. And in terms of the whole year, we also grew 5.9% year on year, which also aligned with the company's target of around 6 to 10% year on year growth to 5,316 million liters, which resulted from the aforesaid of the relaxation of the COVID-19 restrictions. With the rise of the retail oil sales volume also resulting in our market share, which stood at the second rank of 17.9% in fourth quarter of 2022, which is slightly increased from third quarter of 2022 of 17.5%. Let's move on to the non-oil business, starting with the number of touch points. In the end of December 2022, our touch points stood at 1,526 touch points, which can be divided into Pantai Coffee of 511 branches and LPG touch points of 484 touch points, Maxmart of 309 branches, and Coffee World of 26 branches, the Autobags of 45 branches, Max Nitron, which is the lubricant change of 52 locations, Max Camp of 64 rest area, and the last one is the EV charging stations of 35 stations. In this slide, we would like to show you how our non-oil business has been growing, which increase in every dimension. For example, in terms of the number of touch points, we have increased 9.2% Q over Q and 36.1% year over year to 1,526 touch points. And in terms of the non-oil revenue, also increased by 15.3% Q on Q and 64.1% year on year to 2,948 million baht. In terms of the whole year, also increased significantly by 68.5% year on year to 9,478 million baht. In terms of the gross profit, also increased by 11.9% Q on Q and 43% year on year to 651 million baht. And in terms of the whole year, also increased 50.1% year on year to 2,222 million baht. In terms of the gross profit contribution, also increased in line with the bottom left hand side of the slide, which in terms of the fourth quarter of 2022, the contribution stood at 22.6%. And in terms of the whole year, our contribution in non-oil gross profit stood at 18.5%. In terms of the number of LPG touch points, which stood at 484 touch points in the end of December 2022, can be divided into number of auto LPG of 231 stations and gas shops of 253 touch points. In terms of the regional auto LPG distribution, you can see that Bangkok and Vicinity area, West and Eastern area was contributed the top three major contribution of 28%, 21%, and 19% respectively. And in terms of our LPG sales volume in fourth quarter of 2022, you can see that the sales volume stood at 139 million liters, an increase of 5.4% Q over Q and 36% year over year. The increase was mainly driven by the auto LPG of 4.5% Q on Q and 49.4% year on year. The increase in both Q on Q and year on year in the fourth quarter was due to the implementation of the taxi transform and auto transform project. And also, if you look into in terms of the pie chart on the top right-hand side, you can see that our auto LPG also increased from the same period last year of 67.1% to 73.8% in fourth quarter this year. And in terms of the whole year, the sales volume from LPG stood at 497 million liters, an increase of 62.4% year over year. This is as a result of the relaxation of the COVID-19 restriction and the rise of oil price, which led to the consumer using LPG instead of the high-priced oil. And the last one is the taxi transform and auto transform. With the aforesaid of the number of auto LPG also led to our market share to still ranked at the first of 25.7% in fourth quarter 2022. And next is the Pantai business. The number of touch points increased by 10.8% Q-on-Q and 60.7% year-on-year to 511 branches. In terms of sales, also increased by 10.3% Q-on-Q and 101.1% year-on-year to 251 million baht. The increase was mainly from the company's ongoing branch expansion, also the promotional campaigns that Pantai has launched continuously, and also the consistent patronage from our existing customers and also the PT Max card members. In terms of the whole year, the sales recognized from Pantai business of 805 million baht, an increase of 76.3% growth year on year. This is as a result of the aforesaid initiatives along with the delivery channels. In terms of the gross profit, the number of gross profit in Pantai business stood at 138 million baht, an increase of 3.1% Q-on-Q and 47.9% year-on-year. And also the whole year also increased by 53.1% year-on-year to 470 million baht. Moving to MaxMart business, the number of touch points stood at 309 branches, which grew by 3.7% Q-on-Q and 15.7% year-on-year. In terms of the sales from MaxMart stood at 437 million baht, an increase of 21.8% Q-on-Q and 31.5% year-on-year. The increase was in line with the higher traffic in oil retail stations and also from the continuous expansions of its business. In terms of the whole year, also increased by 27.7% year-on-year to 1,447 million baht. In terms of the gross profit, in fourth quarter of 2022 stood at 14.1% Q-on-Q, stood at 77 million baht, increased by 14.1% Q-on-Q and 50.7% year-on-year. And in terms of the whole year, also rose by 49.4% year-on-year to 256 million baht. Next is the AutoBack business, which is the auto care and maintenance business. We have number of touch point in this business of 45 branches, which grew by 15.4% Q-over-Q and 73.1% year-over-year. In terms of the sales, in fourth quarter stood at 115 million baht, an increase of 19.8% Q-on-Q and 82.5% year-on-year. The increase was mainly from the company's continuous expansions, along with the effective marketing campaigns and high seasonal demand. And the last one, which is the consistent patronage from our existing customers and also from our PT Max card members. In terms of the whole year, the sales derived from an AutoBack business of 362 million baht, an increase of 90.7% year-on-year. In terms of the gross profit, in fourth quarter stood at 26 million baht, grew by 18.2% Q-on-Q and 116.7% year-on-year. In terms of the whole year, gross profit stood at 82 million baht, an increase of 120.6% year-on-year. Let's move into our summary of 2022. You can see that on the left-hand side, the number of network stood at 2,149 oil stations and 1,526 of non-oil touch points, which can be divided into 231 of auto LPG stations and other non-oil touch points of 1,290 touch points. In terms of the performance on the right-hand side, you can see that the sales volume of both our oil and LPG was surpassed in line with our guidance of 5.9% growth in oil and 62.4% growth in LPG. And in terms of the sales growth was softer than expected, grew by 68.5%. However, in terms of the gross profit contribution in non-oil, still in line with our guidance of 18.5%. And in terms of EBITDA growth, grew lower than expected of 3.8% year-on-year. This is as a result of the government mandate from lowering the biodiesel proportion from B7 to B5 in February of 2022 to October of 2022 and up to B7 back in October onwards. And also another factors is from the volatility of the crude palm oil price along with the inflations and also the marketing margin. In this slide, we would like to show you in the next 5 years in our service station roadmap. You can see that in the 2027 targets, we aims to obtain the retail market share in oil business of more than 25%. And there is 3 initiatives that we plan to go. The first one is the expansion and renovation of our service stations. And the second one is the service innovation, which we have the PT service master who will be able to facilitate the best in class of service in the market. In this year, we target to increase to 500 staff. And in the next five years, we target up to 2,500 staffs. And in terms of the max camp, which is our rest area, in this year, we target to increase to 75 rest area. And in the next 5 years, increase to more than 140 rest area. And the last one is the max service, which is a 24-hour service that will enable to help the person who have a problem during their journey. They can press 1614 in order to ask for any emergency assistance. And the last one is the data optimization. We would like to create a data-driven customer insight by utilizing the information from our MaxMe applications and also our PT Max card. And the last one is the Max Enterprise Connect, so that we can create the product and services in order to meet the customer's highest satisfactions. Next is our non-oil roadmap. In the next 5 to increase our non-oil gross profit contribution up to 50%. And the 3 major initiatives that we're gonna go, the first one is increased our existing non-oil touch points. In the next 5 years, we target to increase up to 7,900 touch points, a CAGR growth of 39% for 5 years. And the major increase will be derived from our Pantai business. And the second one is we would like to go for a partner and joint venture with our potential business alliances in order to create products and service and also the business to whether it's in the upstream, midstream, or downstream. For example, we have our Pantai and Coffee World as a downstream business. So in the midstream, we trying to creating share value back to our local suppliers, whereby we can help purchase the local ingredients from farmer. For example, we help purchase the strawberry 80 in Chiang Mai, and we created the menu called strawberry for a beverage in Pan Thai, so that we can help both in our local farmers and also be able to provide product and services to our customers. And the last one is co-creation and investment in startup. We have Max Venture, which is the company's subsidiaries, who is the venture capitalist in order to co-create the new business. For example, the Next Pharma, which is the pharmacy in health and wellness business, or invest in the startups. For example, we invest in 360 Truck, which is the logistic platform, similarly to Grab, but this is for a truck. Or the recent investment in Arincare, which is the digital platform for pharmacists and the drugstores. In terms of the outlook of this year, 2023, the number of network, we target to increase our oil stations to 2,206. The non-oil touch points increased to 2,748 touch points, which can be divided into LPG business of 574 touch points, Pan Thai Coffee of 1,500 branches, and other non-oil touch points of 674 touch points. In terms of the performance, starting with the sales volume of oil, we target to increase at the range of 8 to 12% year-on-year growth, and LPG of 40 to 60% year-on-year growth. And in terms of the non-oil sales growth, we target to grow by 80 to 90% year-on-year growth, and non-oil gross profit contribution of 20 to 30%. And the last one is the EBITDA growth of 8 to 12% year-on-year growth. And this year, we target to utilizing our capex of around 5 to 6 billion baht, which can be divided into oil business of 1 to 1.5 billion baht, non-oil businesses of 2 to 2.5 billion baht, and the last one is new businesses of 1.5 to 2 billion baht. And next is the financial performance. Khun Paramet will go you through on this part.
Okay, now comes to the financial part. In the fourth quarter, PTG recorded total revenues at 48,975 million baht, increased 30.3% year-on-year and 8.4% Q-on-Q. The main reasons of the increase is that from the oil business, it's the higher average oil retail price that increased up to 32.69 baht per liter, and also the increase in the sales volume of oil. As Khun Nopasan already mentioned, that it's a new high of the company. And also the growth of the non-oil business, which increased by 15.3% Q-on-Q and 64.1% year-on-year. And the contribution by having this 48 billion baht, the contribution of oil and non-oil result in the pie chart on the right. Oil 94% and non-oil at 6%. And for the full year picture, we recorded at 179,422 million baht, increased 34.1% year-on-year. The major contribution is the sales volume that we hit new high of the company at 316 milliliters. And for the gross profit, for the fourth quarter, we end with the 2,879 million baht, increased 38.7% year-on-year and decreased 7.8% Q-on-Q. The main factor of the decrease from the previous quarter is the marketing margin, resulting from the oil cost structures misalignment between oil fund management and the price and the station. And for the full year picture, we end with the 12,008 million baht, increase 18.5% year-on-year. This is the same picture as the revenue as well. And for the contribution of the gross profit, oil recorded on the fourth quarter at 77.4%, and the remaining of 22.6% belong to non-oil gross profit, which comprise LPG 9.6%, Pan Thai or coffee Pan Thai 4.8%, and others at 8.2%. And for the EBITDA, EBITDA out of fourth quarter was 1,167 million baht, increased 21.5% year on year. However, decreased from the previous quarter of 14.4%. And for the full picture of the whole year, our EBITDA increased 3.8% year on year and end at 5,623 million baht. The reason of the decrease in the fourth quarter is the lower marketing margin, as already mentioned, and also the performance of our company's joint venture, the palm oil, regarding the decrease in the oil in the CPO price in the market, which affect in the total industry. And for the net profit, together with those reasons already mentioned, we end up with the 3 million baht at the fourth quarter, and for the full year at almost 1,000 million baht, 1 billion baht, at 953 million. For the statement of financial position, the number doesn't change much. It's quite in line with the previous year, just only few increase from the expansion of our business, especially from the non-oil business. So the PPE increase together with the trade and other payable that a little bit increased from the rising in the oil price. And for profitability ratio, we end up with a 0.02% for ROA and 0.12% for ROE. The reason was already mentioned in the profitability part, in the net profit one. And leverage ratio for the IBD, interest bearing debt to equity, we end with the 3.5 in the fourth quarter. However, if we look at the IBD to equity for covenant only, by remove the lease liability, we end at the 1.09 times, which is quite in line in the past few years. For the operating cycle, the cash cycle is negative 5.6 days. This is the result of higher period of the payment period at 10.9, comparing to the day in inventory and the average collecting period combining together at 5.3. And the cash flow, we end with the 2,071 million baht, increased from the beginning of the year at 1,701 million baht. Majority from the increase in the cash flow from operating at 5,000 million baht, and together with the invest, and then we have to pay for the finance cost, in total around 4,700 million baht. And for the ESG development, there are the progress in every dimension of the ESG, whether it be environment, the social, or the governance. In the 2022, the company, we installed solar rooftops at 33 PT service stations, and out of 33, 29 already been approved and recognized under the Thailand Voluntary Emission Reduction Program. And we also get a certification from the Environmental Management System under the scope of receiving and storing and distributing the fuel products in our oil depot. And for the social, this year we received a community satisfaction survey of 94.63%, together with the zero complaint from the community around the company station, company establishment. And we also promoted the local sourced ingredients. We support them. We support the farmers by 72 million baht. And for the we also employ the disabled and elderly with the total value of 3 million and 15 million baht respectively. And in terms of governance, this is the first time that we received and achieved the ASEAN Corporate Governance Award in the category of ASEAN Asset Class publicly listed companies. And also we reduced expenses from our project of work optimization by 15 million baht and obtained the entrepreneur customer satisfaction survey of 83% and end users of 93%. Coming to our CSR and CSV parts along the year, we conducted and participated in many several CSR projects, and which the major one is the We Care and We Leave No One Behind. You can see that there are many projects. For example, eye examination for the elderly, or the giving the scholarship to the fund insufficient students, and also we try to grow the plants to become the lung of the community. This is our CSR projects along the year. And for CSV, you can see that we source the products from the local farmer, and then we reward to the PT Max Card members, whether it be mangoes, onions, shallots, garlics, and also the pineapple, mangosteen, the packaged rice as well. And this is that we did it for many years, and we still continue doing it.
Okay, so I think that's out of time right now. So thank you everyone for joining the sessions of PTG Energy, and we hope to see you again next time.
Thank you. สวัสดีครับ